Kia ora te whānau. Welcome to the next video in the HCI series about Jacob Nielsen's usability heuristics. This video is about the fifth heuristic, error prevention. Here's a homework assignment that I hope won't be too much of a chore. One of the best examples of error prevention I can think of that will hopefully help you understand what this heuristic is all about is in the Simpsons episode, The Girl Code. No spoilers, it's pretty obvious when it happens, so after you've watched this video, I really recommend checking it out. It's on Disney Plus or wherever else you can stream it from on the interwebs. Heuristic 5, error prevention, states that good error messages are important, but the best designs carefully prevent problems from occurring in the first place. You should eliminate error-prone conditions, or check for them with a confirmation option before they commit to the action. If you've ever tried to quit Microsoft Word without saving your document, or tried desperately to unsubscribe from a mailing list, you've experienced this heuristic, for better or for worse. According to the Nielsen-Norman group, errors can present in two distinct ways, slips and mistakes. Slips are unconscious errors caused by inattention, like typos or putting the date in the wrong format, or leaving caps lock on when you're entering your password. Can you remember what happens when your caps lock is on and you try to log in to a user profile on Mac or Windows? If it warns you, that's error prevention. Mistakes are when the user doesn't understand the function of the UI that they're using. A good example of this might be clicking the back or refresh button during the payment phase of an online transaction. There usually are lots of fail-safes to prevent this from happening now, but without them, the website might send the payment request more than once, which could end up charging you double the money. A more devastating example of a user mistake and the relevant implications of not including error prevention is in the case of Therac 25. I'll warn you that Therac 25 is a really sad, really horrific example of how deadly some relevant implications can be. I learned about it in my first year studying computer science, and it stays with me until today. Google if you're curious, but please be warned that it's not very uplifting stuff. Preventing slips through UI/UX design can look like offering suggestions to users and good defaults, which include learning from prior user behavior to predict option choice. It can also look like helpful constraints, like only allowing you to use numbers when you're entering a phone number. Forgiving formatting, like using fonts and colors that draw attention to the right places, also prevents slips, warning messages, and confirmation pop-ups. A great example of this is the feature pictured here in Outlook. Many modern email clients have warning systems when you click reply all instead of just wanting to reply to the person who sent the email, not the 50 people they included in the list. The system warns you when you're about to send the message to lots of people. There's usually a threshold, like 20 or 50 recipients or more, to make sure that that's what you want to do. Email clients like Gmail also learn what you usually do based on certain recipients. So it might prompt you to reply all when you're on an email chain with your friends, but only reply when your boss sends an all-staff email and you want to respond, but just to your boss, not to everybody else. Preventing mistakes can be similar to preventing slips, but with some specific differences, such as allowing users to preview results. Of course, previewing results can also prevent slips, like if you notice a typo you left in an article before you publish it, but it can also help you identify if you've taken the right action based on the feature of the UI. Another good example is visual feedback, like on the screenshot here. In the Compose New Tweet dialog box on Twitter, the character limit is displayed and changes as you use those characters up. And this is a great example of visibility of system status too. It turns yellow and then red as you run out of characters. In the newer version of the Twitter app, this is a loading circle, and on the phone app, there is even haptic feedback for when you go over the limit. Let's recap on the core philosophies of the heuristic so far. Visibility of system status is all about communication. Match between system and the real world is about familiarity. User control and freedom is about confidence. Consistency and standards leverages dependability. And error prevention is all about safety and security. The less mistakes and slips we make, the more fearless we'll be in navigating digital environments. Let's have a look at this in action. Why don't we just go back to that scenario that I told you a while ago about, this mythical land where we get out of lockdown and I can go skiing, maybe, hopefully. let's pretend that I'm going to try and book a flight to Queenstown. Let's see how successful this is. And I'm not sure if it's going to ban me. That might be an error prevention in itself. Right, so we're going to go return trip. And remember, I'm not advocating for leaving lockdown. This is just a trial and error thing. Leaving on the 1st of October, this Friday, and coming back on the 13th. Okay, that seemed to work. Did you notice what happened there? My first date has this closing bit here. Lots of visibility of system status. It's really nice. So you start with your first date, and then your last date. This is a really subtle but great example of error prevention because it makes it impossible for me to book my return flight before my leaving flight. So say you were really, really tired and you were booking some flights that were a few months out and you got like the month or the day flipped around and you ended up having a flight that like left from your arrival city before you departed your home city. This is a great feature, right? And then of course they would probably also have a feature when you go through the payment portal that asks you whether you really want to buy this flight. So that's a really good example of error prevention. Let's have a look at another subtle example of error prevention. Okay, so say I wanted to go with Emirates Skywards. I'm not looking at leaving the country just yet, but let's have a look. Very, very subtle example. As soon as I make my password more complex, you notice how it goes to strong, and then good, and then weak. So it's giving me visual feedback, so it is visibility of system status, but it's also preventing me, because it's saying your password should contain a minimum of 8 characters, right? And so it doesn't meet the recommended password complexity there. It's giving me this visual feedback so I can make sure that I enter the right kind of password the first time. There's nothing more infuriating than when you're trying to create a password for logging into something and it keeps refusing your password because it's not complex enough. So this avoids that. Let's recap for retrieval. The 5th Nielsen heuristic is error prevention. Good error messages are important, but the best designs carefully prevent problems from occurring in the first place. There are 2 kinds of errors that users can make, slips and mistakes. Slips are unconscious, like typos, which autocorrect is sometimes great for and sometimes terrible for. And mistakes are intentional errors caused by users not understanding the UI, or the UI not being built with an understanding of the user. Hopefully, you've noticed by now that many heuristics work together in specific features that are common to many user interfaces today. And usually there's some form of visibility of system status in all of them. Heuristic 3, user control and freedom, and Heuristic 5, error prevention, have a more strong relationship to each other, and I'll go into this in more detail further down the line. User control and freedom creates trust through user confidence, which can be further supported by safety and security. And these 2 heuristics work well with another 2 heuristics, which you're just going to have to keep watching the videos to find out. Namihi kia koutou. Thanks for watching, team. Remember, you can always reach out by email, through Discord, or by coming along to our class sessions if you need any help. From me and Gary, kia kite, kia homeru te noho.